Hello, everyone. I'm Francisco Guerrero, uh, Director of Training and Experience Marketing, and I just couldn't wait to show you I got a new haircut. So finally, you're getting about 50% less hair, and hopefully Zoom or whatever video app you're using to see me is spending a lot less bandwidth trying to send like the size of my head so large. So that was pretty awesome. I just want to share with everybody. And I also wanted you guys to tell you a little bit of a weird piece of news that came out this week that really reminded me of a big pain in doing CRM and basically data that has always come up. So I don't know if you guys heard, but this week, the people that study genetics, the people that study our genes and come up with names for them, has decided that they had to change the names after basically having this protocol for well over 20 years. They had a way to describe the names of of our DNA, the specific parts and things like that. And guess what? Their names were being confused by Microsoft Excel as dates, because sometimes a gene will be called March-1, and 90% of the time, Excel will take that and assume it's a date, as opposed to the name called March-1. And this was constantly happening on all sorts of genetic studies. Every time they put the data into Excel, every time somebody opened the data in Excel, sometimes when the data was transferred to a new database, will transfer as a date and it will just kill the entire study and you have to resend the data again. And, I just thought this was like really something that affects CRM and database marketing. So Excel, whether we like it or not, and as much as Google Docs has made huge advancements, you're still talking Excel 90% of the time where you're doing CRM, reporting, those things. And when you're, passing data back and forth, when you're reporting data, usually at some point you will touch it with Excel. You might be just working on Google Docs now, but if you're doing a lot of work in database CRM, Excel is unavoidable. And now the Excel has been so influential and strong that even people who have nothing to do with tech, who had already 20 years of established system, had to change their own nomenclature so that they wouldn't conflict with Excel all the time. And I tell you this because this is something that we cover on our, on our series about mistakes, creating your first CRM system, your first database, is this happens all the time. People will have lists in some sort of way, and then they will send them up in Excel, and Excel will change their data. Things like if your user IDs have leading zeros in them, that's usually big trouble because Excel will think it's a number and will take those numbers out even before you knew what happened, and then your entire data is screwed. Same thing with, combinations of letters and numbers, as we just heard. Geneticists had to change their entire nomenclature because it was conflicted with Excel. That's how powerful Excel is. And if geneticists have to change things, you have to learn Excel and you have to understand the traps within Excel. So the other thing that happens is, depending on your version of Excel, the older versions had, basically a maximum number of rows, somewhere around 300,000. So if you're in older versions of Excel and you open up a list, and just to take a look at the data really quick, hey, is this data right? You open it in Excel, and guess what? You just truncated your file to 300,000 rows, especially if you saved it from Excel again back on, because, hey, Excel only maxes out a certain number of rows. So these are issues that constantly happen when you're uploading data. So if you're doing manual CRM, you're in a small shop, you're uploading your data to things through MailChimp, you're doing manual lists, you're doing a lot of data and manual input, this tends to happen a lot of the times. Excel will change your data without you knowing about it, then you will upload it, and then you make a big mess. So what I recommend is, as much as Excel is always check your nomenclature. Always try to see your larger files in a text editor. try not to open raw files in Excel. Sometimes there is no choice. Sometimes it's a CSV file, but remember, a CSV file can be way longer, almost like a text file, but an Excel report has a maximum number of rows. So be always careful when you're opening files, long list with Excel. If you're doing QA, if you're just doing a quick data check, that you're not using Excel in a way that will change your data. Other things that I'm seeing is, sometimes 5-digit numbers are confused as zip codes. Sometimes, special characters are not recognized in some cases. Or you are doing different text edits, and then in a way you can confuse your data. So we cover all this stuff when people are setting up CRMs. I've seen it time and time again where the data just stops making sense, and then, so somebody tried to upload an Excel file, and Excel did all sorts of weird things to your data. So keep that in mind. As much as Excel, you have to be able to dominate it, you have to be able to use it, you also have to be aware of how Excel changes your data, especially when you're working manually with data. You're doing QAs, you're doing data outputs, you're doing analytics with long lists. Be careful with that. So remember, things like leading zeros in ID numbers, Excel will probably destroy those. Special characters that you might have to use for special things, you might not be able to see them in Excel. Other things is the size of your file. Keep in mind, Excel has a maximum number of rows. I don't know what the latest version has. I remember the older versions topped out somewhere around 300,000 rows. And the other thing is be aware on, try to open raw files with text editors, because those will not try to force some format updating that Excel usually does that all the time. Sometimes it doesn't even ask you, it just does it, and then you're looking at wrong data. So just wanted to share this one around for those people who are kind of like in the trenches, and I thought it was like so incredible that an entire science has to change their formats because they're conflicted with Microsoft Excel, and that's what they use to publish and do their analysis. In the blog, I'll set up a link to the articles about this. This was really interesting. And as I said, I just want an excuse to show you my new haircut. So it's cool. Now I'm probably gonna do more videos. I was getting shy with my big, huge head. So thank you guys. Please subscribe to our videos. Follow us in YouTube and also LinkedIn, where we're setting up these videos. And thank you, and we'll talk to you soon. So keep following us in the videos as we go and complete our set of CRM training. This is Francisco Guerrero saying goodbye.